Okay everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. We're back with a track guide for the daily race C at Suzuka in the Redbull X2014. So I managed to get myself, it was in P5 in the top 10 stars. I have no idea if it still is there. It was a reasonably good lap. We've managed to break into the 1 minute 57s. Now I did do the lap originally 1 minute 58.3 and I was going to do the guide with that, but then yesterday I felt like I could improve the lap by around 3-4 attempts, and I thought if I can show where that 3-4 attempts is gained and by pushing that a little bit harder, then it's going to be a benefit to everyone. So went on yesterday, improved the time, and thought I'd record it all obviously yesterday and then do the video today. I know it's a bit later than I did say I did want to get it done yesterday. However, I felt that 4 attempts is quite a big margin to show you over a lap. You know, with this car, it is a big margin when you come to the finishing line, because it is going to be fairly close towards the top by the end of the week. But we're currently in the top 10 stars, so we're going to point out all the little tips, the braking, some of the gear selections that I choose, some of the lines that I've chosen. There is mistakes on the lap. I'm not going to say that it's a perfect lap. There is definitely potential to get very close to what Miura did. I think I could get down to a 57.6 or a 5, something like that. I think that would be pushing my skill level pretty much to the maximum. I don't think I could get much better than 157.5. But like I say, I don't spend too long on these time trials. So I did this lap, happy with it. So we'll go through every single brake marker, like I say, racing line, and any little tips that I can give you along the way. And I'm going to also try and point out to you, like I say, where I made the mistakes, where I think I might have lost the little fractions a second, like a tenth here, tenth there, which can lose you time. And I also mentioned where I think I gained a lot of time. So we'll point all this out during the lap, and then after I've obviously done the tutorial lap, I'll let you watch the lap in the chase camera and at full speed without me talking over it in the normal gameplay view. So starting lap, you'll notice straight away we've got our brake bias -5. Now that's because I think you probably could go faster with it on, say, -3 or something, or even -1, -2, but I feel it makes the car a lot more stable on -5. It just keeps that back end a little bit more planted to the floor and makes it feel a little bit easier to drive, in my personal opinion. So going into turn 1, we're not going to really brake into this one. You're going to see you're braking very late. A little look at where the ghost was there, because I didn't do a particularly great exit off the corner. Going into turn 1, you can see we're only just starting to put a little bit of braking inputs now when we're hitting the apex of the corner. We're going to let the car just sway into the middle of the track, nearer to the left hand side. And you see we're only in 4th gear at the moment. We're not gone down to 3rd gear yet, even though 3rd gear is the gear we're taking the corner. And see we downshift there into 3rd gear. And now we're going to get back on the power already. You'll see there, the power is already going back in on the accelerator, because we're going to get maximum power out that corner. Use some of the curb on the left hand side. Just be careful you don't run too far wide on that left hand side. It can unsettle the car and lose you a lot of time. Now into the left hand, fast left hand corner, no lifting off the throttle there. And then we're going to gradually we're going to feather the throttle off slightly. So we're going to go down to like 50-60% throttle. We're not going to take the throttle completely off through this section though, because if you take it all the way off, you're going to cause the weight to distribute too much and it's going to lose the rear end. So you need to put some power in through these corners. You'll see we're not really braking until we come to this corner now, where we're going to put the brake in ever so slightly there, just a dab of brakes to get to that rotation on the front end, to weight transfer all the way to the front, and then an aggressive downshift into 3rd to try and bite it into the apex. And then we're back on the throttle very early there. We got a little moment of oversteer on the corner, which kind of made me react to it, and then it caused us to take a very tight line into this corner. However, because we did that first section so good, you can see in the mirror I'm about a tenth, maybe a tenth and a half up on the ghost in the mirror there. So gained quite a lot even with that mistake. So maybe that without that mistake we would have been a little bit further up. And then going into this is a flat out corner now with this car. No lifting at all. Completely aggressive through that corner, 5th gear. You can see you want to get your right hand tyre basically on that green bit of Astro, and then get it in a straight line. As soon as the car's in a straight line for the braking, onto that brake early. Now it's really important to get on the brake nice and early and try and bite the car into the apex of this corner. You see I slightly miss it there. I would rather have the right hand tyre to been on that green Astro, but because I missed that apex by maybe a foot, it sends me all the way out to the left hand side here. We did manage to keep the power down. You see I kept the throttle planted all the way through the corner, but it does lose you that vital little, half a tenth here and there, as you're going to see in a minute when I show you where the ghost is. And then heavy on the brakes into this corner, you can see there, very early. I like to do it early because I don't want to brake too late and then run really wide. You see going down to 1st gear also, that is something I've altered since watching the top lap on the leaderboard. Down to 1st gear, then back up to 2nd gear instantly, onto the throttle, really aggressively. and then coming out the corner. You can see we're actually level with the Ghost at this point, but then starting to pull away a bit because we did the corner better than we did on the Ghost there, but we were a little bit ahead before that. So that mistake going under the bridge cost me about a tenth there. So far we've probably lost about 2 tenths on this lap. And then going into the spoon corner, this is something, again, I've changed up. Now I'm doing this in 4th gear. I was downshifting this to 3rd. As you can see there, braking just before the 50 board where that shadow is on the track, and then biting into the apex in 4th gear. Like I say, I'm doing that in 4th now. And you want to get your left-hand tyre as close to the edge of that curb as possible, but don't go onto the grass. It will unsettle the car a bit. Staying in 4th gear until you then hit the brakes, and then pretty much as you hit the brakes, you're going down into 3rd gear because you want to bite this car. You want the weight to transfer to the front end of the car to really bite you into the apex for as long as possible. You can see we're going to start putting the throttle back in very early for this corner because you want to get a very strong exit, and you can afford to run a little bit wide as we watch now. Running onto the green Astro, using the curb on the right side, it's not going to slow you down with this car. You can afford to do that, but you really want to be aggressive on the exit there because that speed that you carry through the exit is going to carry you all the way up the straight here now, through 130R and then into the final chicane. So it's extremely important that you hook that corner up. That is where I probably gained the time to get into the 157s on this lap, because I really did nail that corner. Then in the heavy braking zone, braking just before the 100 board on the left there, you see I like to make a little bit fraction short of that, just so you can stop the car and bite it in aggressively into this chicane. You'll see there I really attack the chicane. You can cut quite a bit off this chicane. You see there pretty much all 4 wheels over the curb. And then again on this left-hand part, again attacking it very aggressively with your slightly cutting it really. You've got to do that to get the exit speed, to get yourselves as much of an exit coming out of that corner. Flat on the throttle, you see, not really lifting off the throttle or on the exit, and then staying all the way over to the right-hand side for the shortest line possible to the finishing line. And that's a 157.9. So fairly solid lap. Like I say, there was a couple of attempts, maybe 2-3 attempts that we could knock off that with if we kept practicing and practicing and practicing, but that's not my style. I'm not really into that. Just get a solid lap. That's enough for the top 10 at the moment, and that will do for our lap for this week as we now watch it from the chase camera. And what we're going to see now is I'm going to try and show you where what I was talking about in this first sector, where it was like the rear just, I could feel it going loose, but it didn't actually go loose, so it caused us a bit of understeer mid corner because I had to correct it. So going into this right hand corner now, just keep an eye on it. It's going to throw us over to the left, and you see there just a little bite of it, and you can see the correction I made, and then it made me take a very narrow line through that corner. However, I did keep the foot planted, so I don't think I lost a massive amount of time. It would have been maybe half a tenth at most, really. Nothing, you know, it probably minimal all the way. And then this is where you can see I missed the apex. You can see there, didn't get that right hand tyre over the curb, and that caused me to run a little bit wide on the left hand side and lost maybe a tenth there. That was probably the biggest mistake in terms of losing lap time on the lap. However, we did this corner nice, biting it inch perfect into the apex of that corner by downshifting into first and back up to second. And that is something that I wasn't doing when we live streamed as well. So I think I could improve my race time by quite a bit by now following the new way of what I'm doing now in this track guide, by obviously down into first gear there and then into 4th gear. Again, that's something that I've changed since doing my original lap. So much more consistent way of doing it. I think you just got to be careful you don't take too much speed through that spoon corner in 4th gear, because obviously we know what the curbs are like at Suzuka. They will just take you off, spin you out and pretty much ruin your lap. So again, this is all fairly simple. 130R is just about taking a smooth line. You've got to be very smooth with this car. So my big recommendation is keep your inputs very minimal. You don't want to be aggressive, because if you're aggressive it starts sliding the rear a bit. You can see there by how much we kind of cut that corner, but you have to do that to get the most out of this car. Really aggressive on them curbs, and then over the line for the 157. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that lap. I'm going to leave you with the lap played at 4 speed with the gameplay camera. Let me know in the comment section if it's helped you out. Let me know if it's improved your time. I hope it has. Give the video a thumbs up if you've appreciated it, and make sure you subscribe to the channel if you haven't already subscribed, and click that notification button so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks again for watching, everyone.